Canada stuns Washington as Arctic naval push overwhelms U.S. fleet. Trump left reeling. In a dramatic and unexpected shift in global military dynamics, Canada has launched a bold Arctic naval campaign that is now being described by defense experts as one of the most significant strategic moves in the region in decades. The United States, once seen as the uncontested leader in Arctic affairs, has been caught off guard, both militarily and politically, and no one seems more surprised or more rattled than former President Donald Trump. Known for his outspoken confidence in American military dominance, Trump had previously brushed off concerns about Canada's Arctic ambitions, calling them non-issues, and even referring to the Canadian Navy as just polite coast guards. But now, as Canada's cutting-edge Arctic fleet claims control over key northern waters, Trump is reportedly fuming behind the scenes, and the Pentagon is racing to catch up. This strategic earthquake began quietly. Over the past decade, Canada had steadily invested in Arctic infrastructure, satellite surveillance, and ice-class naval vessels. At first, these moves were seen as modest, a typical modernization effort. But behind closed doors, Canadian defense planners were preparing for something much bigger. A long-term, high-stakes chess match over the melting Arctic, a region quickly becoming one of the most valuable and contested areas on Earth. With rising global temperatures opening up new shipping lanes, revealing previously inaccessible oil and gas reserves, and increasing tensions between global powers, the Arctic is no longer an icy afterthought, it's the new front line, and Canada just took a commanding position. Canada's latest deployment, involving advanced Arctic patrol ships, stealth-enabled icebreakers, and long-range surveillance drones, has effectively locked down several strategic passages in the Northwest and Beaufort Seas. These areas were previously assumed to be under informal U.S. influence. In fact, multiple American naval missions have reportedly been delayed or redirected in the last 30 days due to unexpected Canadian exercises and new territorial claims. In response, the U.S. Navy has quietly shifted resources north, but insiders say the American response has been slow, scattered, and unprepared for the level of coordination Canada has shown. Former President Trump, known for his outspoken confidence in American military dominance, has now been put in a difficult position. Publicly, he lashed out in a furious post on Truth Social, calling Canada's Arctic move a slap in the face to everything we built together, and accusing Canadian leadership of disrespecting U.S. power and generosity. He even hinted that the United States should consider retaking Arctic leadership the old-fashioned way. But such language, while dramatic, may be more bluster than reality. Military experts warn that a hard power confrontation in the Arctic could be disastrous, not only because of the region's fragile ecosystem, but because Canada has already aligned itself with several Nordic nations, boosting its strategic depth. What's more, Canada's diplomatic play has been just as effective as its military rollout. Officials in Ottawa have been quietly building support from Arctic Council partners, strengthening agreements with Scandinavian countries, and forming new economic and security ties with Europe. This multi-layered approach has left the U.S. isolated at a moment when global alliances are shifting. Even more concerning for Washington is the possibility that China and Russia, both with growing Arctic interests, could look to Canada as a more stable and cooperative player in future northern development projects. Domestically, the news has rocked U.S. lawmakers. Congressional hearings are now being scheduled to investigate why Washington failed to anticipate such a bold Canadian maneuver. And some military officials are even calling for a complete overhaul of the United States Arctic Command strategy. American oil companies, too, are watching with growing unease. Control over Arctic shipping routes means control over future energy transport. And if Canada sets the rules, U.S. influence over the next wave of global energy trade could rapidly decline. Meanwhile, in Canada, the move has been celebrated as a national triumph, the moment when the country stepped out of America's shadow and claimed its own strategic destiny. For decades, Canada was seen as the quiet neighbor, peaceful, cooperative, and hesitant to assert hard power. That image has now been shattered. The country's Arctic fleet has proven to be not only technically capable, but politically disruptive, challenging long-held assumptions about the balance of power in North America. And what does this mean for Trump? For a man who built his image on strength and dominance, being outmaneuvered by a country he long mocked is more than just a policy failure. It's a political humiliation. His critics are calling it Trump's Arctic blind spot, a legacy of ignoring global complexity in favor of short-term slogans. His supporters, however, are demanding immediate retaliation and calling on the U.S. to rebuild its Arctic capabilities before it's too late. The stakes are enormous. This isn't just about naval positioning, it's about climate, resources, sovereignty, and the future of global power structures. And right now, Canada holds the high ground, both literally and strategically. Whether the United States chooses to escalate, negotiate, or adapt remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, the Arctic is no longer America's silent backyard. It's a geopolitical battlefield, and Canada has just fired the first shot.
Guys, thanks for watching. Stay updated with Global Scope 360. Thank you so much. Subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon.